right, thank you guys so much for joining today, our workshop on reshaping customer and agent experience with integrated analytics. We got a great lineup of speakers today. We have myself, Jim Iyer, the Chief Customer Officer, Chandra Tobias, our Vice President of Customer Experience, Robert Beasley, the CEO of Tethr, and another of our clients, Brian Hurley, the Chief Executive Officer at Vaspian. It's going to be a great day today. And I know you might be thinking, why does Etech deserve to be able to be speaking about reshaping agent performance? Well, let me tell you a little story. If you're not familiar with Etech, Etech was born and bred in 2003 with one location. We had 400 team members. Today, Etech operates in 3 countries, 9 dynamic sites, and over 3,400 team members. They've accomplished all this with no mergers, no acquisitions, and no venture capitalists, and we are a trusted advisor for numerous Fortune 50 companies. Our customers are game changers. They are forward thinkers. They are always challenging us to do better than yesterday and new innovative ideas to drive CX. Etech is set up into 3 contact center units. One is our contact centers. Our secret sauce is Etech Insights. That's what we're talking about today. It is actually a total quality management, operational effectiveness platform. Paired with our technology solutions, Etech has about 400 data scientists, data engineers, and data analysts that takes all of these disparate systems, connects them together, and delivers output. What we're going to learn today, what's the importance of AI in HI? We're going to talk about data in real life. Chandra's going to come in and she's going to talk about some actual business challenges, how we measure the ROI, some of the use cases. We're going to talk about why is coaching so crucial in 2022. And at the end, I'm going to come back and talk about how to successfully implement this technology, some of the challenges other people have, the revenue impact, and how to help you select the right solution provider. All right, let's get started. Thank you again. So what is this artificial intelligence? People say AI is killing jobs. Really? Is it really? AI is not going to replace humans. It's actually going to improve the quality and output of our work. It provides hidden and actionable insights that empowers you for accurate and strategic decisions. Matter of fact, I read a study in the World Economic Forum published about a year ago, where this rise in machines and automation is going to eliminate 85 million jobs by 2025. But they also note, which I'm really happy to tell you, they also believe they expect 97 million new jobs to be created, which if you do simple math, it's about 12 million more jobs. And Etech believes that as well. We believe that people are the most important thing in the world. Today, Chandra's going to show you people are so why it's such important. And we're also going to think about some of the attributes of what we think about. Today, people think at AI, they need to drive a Tesla or a Porsche, and I need to have these fancy cars, and I need to understand everything underneath them. That's really not true. Today, what you're going to learn is you don't have to know how the machine works in intricacies. You don't need to know how these cars are put together. What you need to do is get in the car and drive it. And today you're going to see that. I also understand some of you might be looking at challenges and being able to sell this to your C-levels, right? We're going to give you enough information and some buzzwords and concepts to help you be competitive in this AI world and show you how it's worth the money. So let me start with technology. So this is true. This is actually pulled off the internet. This left-hand side is a 100% machine learning speech-to-text engine. There was no human intervention whatsoever. I won't bore you by reading it, but you guys can read this while you're there. This literally came out from an AI engine. And I will talk about what these machines do. So hopefully you're reading that. You can see what it is. It's pretty comical when you look at AI without the human engineers to actually fine tune it to make it look good. Obviously, this was posted, by the way, and somebody didn't check it. So if you think about what we're talking about, this obituary to the left, no human beings whatsoever. It was pretty much straight. AI learns through machine learning. Machine learning to the right is guided by humans. So this right picture of this puzzle, this is really what machine learning is when it's not fully guided. You can see what it did with the puzzle. It takes it out, it puts it into the right colors. But if you really want to talk about it, and Chandra will dig into it a little bit deeper, it's really how do I get that puzzle and put it all together? And you know, we've seen those 90s movies where AI is going to destroy the world. AI can't figure out the difference between a dog and a cat without human intervention. So think about it, right? In AI, if you look at like a puppy has a tail, so does a pony, right? You have to teach it to understand the distinctive characteristics of that animal so it understands it. It's not as simple as what people think, right? So AI, people talk about it's a luxury. I don't need it. You know, I think we disagree. The price of doing the same old thing is much far higher than the price of change. The people who adapted to understanding that CX is what differentiates you from a company, from anybody else, right? They'll see improved performance, reasons for customer dissatisfaction. You can identify these customer experience drivers. It also helps you improve sales conversion. You can look at real-time risk monitoring. And of course, you can use AI to automate mundane tasks. What that helps you do is actually create better agents and better experiences. And also at Etech, we've grown our people skills and our people tremendously because of that. The cost of late adoption, I know some of you guys might have seen them inside. So we also have to be able to measure this ROI on speech. So the cost reduction, you could definitely automate compliance. Very good for you. You can avoid non-compliance. You can reduce transfers. You can improve first contact resolution. If you're in a sales world, you'll definitely see revenue increases. Actually, most of our customers that are using the AI for sales is seeing an ROI within the first 90 days. And Chandra's going to talk with Brian on this a little bit about some of the collection space of how you can do it. When you look at QA today, a lot of companies are checking boxes. And when you check a box, I'm not saying don't do QAs, so please don't misrepresent what I'm trying to say. The problem with a simple checkbox is you're missing the talent that is delivered from this listening to the entire conversation. So you can pick up reason for contacts. I know we have dispositions, I get it. But at the end of the day, you want a disposition for everything. You can actually see the issues, the frustration points. You can look at frustration, agent acknowledgement, advocacy, problem solvers. You can see negative sentiments. That's the holy grail of when you use speech to dig down and get surgical in your approach to find out what your customers are saying about you, your brand, your competitors. Right? Those are the things that you can use to differentiate you in the marketplace. Because make no mistake about it, whether you're selling rafts or widgets, at the end of the day, the only differentiator you have between you and them going to somebody else in a global marketplace is how you treat that customer. And when you're only listening to 1% of your calls and you're doing surveys, people know that you either went above and beyond, which is physically impossible on every call. You've upset me so much that I'm going to tell you the feedback, or you bribe me with a $25 Starbucks gift card to fill out your survey. And when you do surveys and just listening to a percentage of your calls, you're missing 80% of really what your customers are saying about you, your brand, and the processes. And sometimes they just leave. Hopefully that gives you a setup to today's session. I'm going to turn it over to Chandra, and Chandra's going to take us through some case studies. And then Robert's going to talk a little bit, and I'll come back to wrap us up at the end of the session. Chandra, take us away.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you again for spending a few minutes. Good morning, everyone, and thank you again for spending a few minutes with us today to learn a little bit more about how we can reshape customer experience via agent experience. So I want to talk a little bit about data in real life using artificial intelligence. You're already doing it. You've been doing it for a while. You just may not realize that you're using these highly intelligent, highly tuned, trained by you functions really probably once an hour. Seriously, about once an hour during every waking hour. The Internet of Things. If you're not familiar with this term, we're talking about your smart devices in your homes, even your thermostat, right? Your refrigerator can actually be a connected device these days. Outside of that, we're talking about your smartphone, okay? All of these things that are connected and are functioning via the internet, your smart devices. Who's teaching them? Who's teaching them how to function? You are. You are teaching AI across the board, okay? You are teaching machine. You're actually a machine teacher. You are teaching machine learning. A simple example of that: how many of you have done the CAPTCHAs when you've had to reset a password, or you've had to get past an access point on a website? You have to select all of the squares that have a picture of a bus. You are training someone's AI engine to recognize a bus. Didn't get a paycheck for that, I'm sure. When we talk about accuracy, talking about artificial intelligence in relation to human intelligence, okay? We see all the time where an artificially intelligent powered function can be wrong. How many times have you asked Siri, don't respond, for directions, and she's maybe been a street or two off, or drove you off into a lake or something, right? But how many times have you asked a family member for directions, and those directions have been pretty vague, and you didn't end up in the right place? Both humans and machines can be wrong, okay? But we tend to have a little bit of higher expectations of a machine because we're familiar. As humans, we're most familiar with functional machines that perform a repetitive set of functions, and they deliver the same result time over time. AI, machine learning, it is a thinking machine. It has functional properties. They're all powered, again, by machine learning. And anything, okay, you, me, artificial intelligence, machine learning, anything that thinks or learns is subject to inaccuracy through learning, while they're learning. So we constantly have to be in the state, humans, of teaching artificial intelligence and our speech analytics platforms how to be accurate, how to be smart, intuitive, and understand concepts. Is AI dangerous? No, absolutely not. That takes humans, and anything that has a power cord is not too dangerous. So how do we do it? How does AI and speech analytics, this is where you see artificial intelligence really is probably the most predominant function in the call center, is using it in a speech analytics type function. How do those things come together? It's through using natural language processing, which is a subfield of AI. It teaches machines how to understand human language in context, okay? In context, the multiple context of words. Human language separated into fragments. Each one of those fragments become unstructured and documented data, okay? Every single word of an interaction, written or spoken, represents one piece of unstructured data. So you can see the volume here. The possibilities are absolutely huge. We have access to information that we never have had visibility into in the past. Data scientists, this is where my team comes in. We teach these natural language processing tools to look beyond the standard definitions, to understand context, to add a humanistic approach, to deal with word ambiguity and other complex concepts of conversation. We communicate on so many different levels, and there's so much context behind each word. You have to have a human come in and teach the machine how to use those functions intelligently, or how to define those functions intelligently. Here's an example of how complex that can get. The word good. There are 370 synonyms in the English language for the word good. There are 290 synonyms in the English language for the word great, okay? So defining each use case, each contextual use of those words, you can see where that can be a very tremendous effort. And again, that effort is all human-based. That's all human-powered. A human has to do the teaching so that the machine understands the context and various uses of the word good. Is good always good? When we hear the word good, does that always mean something is good? Is that always a +1? Let's think about Peanuts, the little Charles Schulz cartoon. What's the most commonly used exasperation in that cartoon? Good grief. Wes Woods, thank you. Good grief. Does good grief mean you're happy? Absolutely not. So you understand where I'm going here with having to teach the context of each and every kind of emotional adjective, if you will. What you're seeing here, this is an example of a transcript. Okay, this is an example of a transcript coming out of our Tethr platform. Every one of these little red dots you're seeing across the top, those are analytical events. Those are something that we have taught this platform need to be recognized as an analytically viable happening in this interaction. What you see below, every red spot, that is an analytically viable event. And we know at a glance, okay, what was the minimal effort we saw perceived on the call just from what we've taught the machine of a 4.2 out of 10. And we're able to see the impact that the agent had on that effort as well at a glance. So right here, we understand that there is an immense amount of data represented just from this one interaction. Jim, we go with the next slide. What you're seeing here, if you'll look over on the right side of my screen, we start out at 19 after the hour, we go to 39 after the hour. So we've got 20 minutes. What you're looking at here is a slice of 20 minutes worth of data for one program, okay? What you're seeing, every one of these pink rectangles you see is an analytically viable data point. There are 980 analytically viable data points captured in 20 minutes worth of mining for one program. Now you can do the math on how many 20-minute segments there are in a 24-hour day and how quickly this thing is working and how much volume and velocity of data that it's actually providing for us. So what do we do with all this? Now we've got all this tremendous amount of information. How do we make this accessible, usable, and consumable all the way down to the agent level? So you saw 980 data points in 20 minutes. What you got here, a big pile of Legos, okay? Legos can be a lot of fun, but boy, if you step on one, you're certainly gonna know about it, okay? So we wanna keep all of those parts together, all of those Legos together. We take that big pile of data, then we start sorting it out. We wanna look at the various common attributes. Here we sorted them by color. We didn't really look too much at the shape. We just put everything into a nice color bucket and we're able to see the different colors we're working with. Moving over to step 3, we're gonna arrange those now by shape inside that color bucket. We're gonna start putting together some structure to it. Go down to 4, we're gonna start presenting it visually. From that, we're gonna start interpretation and translation. Then we're gonna build a nice little Lego house explained with a full story. And then it becomes actionable data, actionable from the C-suite all the way down to coaching our agents who are the most important people on the team. You take all of that, what do you result in? Big data. You've heard me use these words: volume, velocity, variety. There is absolute endless possibilities into how you can dissect the data, use the data, understand the data. There's so much there. The possibilities are really endless. But the only limiter is your imagination. Anything you want to know, you can find out. Jimmy, go ahead and go to the next slide. So we're going to get into our case studies. How are we actually using this information to improve human performance? How are we using this information to make our agents' lives better, therefore affecting our customers' lives? I'm going to tell you a tale of two sinners. This was all happening around Christmas. Everyone's familiar with Charles Dickens and his Tale of Two Cities. So this was all around the holiday season. And I thought, Tale of Two Sinners, this is a great storyline. So we look at Center Alpha, Center Beta. Center Alpha, they were kind of the big dogs in the arena, okay? They had tenured leaders with 8+ years of campaign experience, all right? Center Beta, they had leaders with 6 years, and greater experience in sales, in the call center, but not really relevant to this program at all. Center Alpha, core team with 5 years experience. No core team in Center Beta, starting from scratch. Center Alpha, English is their first language. Center Beta, it's an offshore center. English is their second, maybe third, fourth, or fifth language that they fluently speak. And then technology. Our Center Alpha have been using AI-powered speech analytics for reactive performance management. Let me stress that again, reactive performance management. Working on the knowns, okay? Measuring and reacting to that measurement. Where Center Beta, with it being a new stand-up, they're going to use AI-powered speech analytics in partnership with data for proactive design. They're going to go to training. We're going to take all that information that we've mined, those attributes we already know that equal success, We're going to put that into our training design. We're going to deploy active analysts into nesting so that we're providing the leaders with real-time actionable data they can bob and weave as they teach these agents the best practices day over day. We closely monitor the first 30-day performance management, again, keeping those leaders embedded. We knew what the potential was, right? As we went into it, we baselined the current state. We looked at critical behaviors. What are the behaviors that matter the most? One of the behaviors we identified was asking for the sale, had a huge impact on sales performance, okay? Some of you in the call center world are like, duh, yeah, of course it does, but what impact? We know you got to ask for the sale, that's sales 101, but what does that really mean? What does that really do for us? Now we know, okay? So we knew going into this, launching this team, that with our current experienced team, Center Alpha, okay, that if we're at a 42.3% adherence rate on our ask for sale critical behaviors, our agents 42% of the time, just 42, are asking for the sale. We know that aligns with around $51 per hour in billable revenue. Okay, good to know. Now we're able to forecast what would be the impact of increasing that. Go up, scale that up, bring it up by just 2 points, nothing more than that. We see almost a predicted $250,000 impact to revenue. That's a compelling conversation for anyone, right? That's a huge increase. That's a lot of money in my book. So we've understood this is what we need to go for. We really need to help these new folks be very comfortable, confident, and highly skilled in how to ask for the sale. How did we do that? Identified the critical behaviors, what we just talked about. We created a form to rate those behaviors. We calibrated. We worked with this team twice a week. We were constantly in communication with each other. We shared practical examples. We partnered with training and development to make sure that we were refreshing agents. We noticed after agents got out of training, after a certain amount of time, we needed to go back and refresh them on certain aspects. Now we had intel on what specific aspects we needed to refresh them on. No more blanket approach, surgical, laser focused, get in there, teach them what they need, and get out. And again, that circle just replenishes itself. We understood the correlations between the critical behaviors and conversion. We've talked a little bit about ask for sale. We wanted to also understand the impact that discovery questions were having, right? We saw that what was going on with probing, without probing, and the impact that that had on sales. So we're looking at many aspects of the sales cycle and the offer process. Jim, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. We understood what were the behaviors that mattered. Again, understanding critical behaviors and then how those critical behaviors fit together. How does it make sense? How do you do that? By assessing and analyzing the attributes of your pace setters, those people who are consistently hitting the numbers, those folks who are consistently outperforming the herd and setting the pace. We compared what they were doing in their chat flow or their call flow to what those people who were a little less effective were doing. And we understood what was the optimized chat flow. Again, going to those critical behaviors, really keenly understand. Go ahead, Jim, you can go to the next slide. Keenly understanding the impact those critical behaviors had on sales. You can watch, I mean, it's like, you know, riding the surf, okay? Week 1, we're looking at ask for sale, okay? How often are we asking for sale in our sample size? How often are we applying discovery and probing? And then what does our sales conversion look like on top of that? Week 1, we see highest number across a 4-week period in asking for the sale. Almost 64% of the time we were asking for the sale. Look at that week 2 conversion, shot right up as a result of that behavior. Now we also see declining behavior. Unfortunately, you see that trend line going down as well. It is 1 + 1 = 2, right? I mean, it's very, very simple. Apply the critical behaviors. You're going to see that reflected where it matters the most, either in conversion, in your CSAT, whatever metric is very important to you. Apply the critical behavior measurement, you're going to see the impact. Moving into a separate case study, this is for our partners at Vastly. And Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your confidence in Etech Insights and you taking the time to be with us here today to go through your data. Brian's case study is collections based. Okay, so kind of switching gears a little bit. We were talking about conversion, critical behaviors as they were related to conversion and sales in the prior case study in the Tale of Two Centers. Now, as we go into the Vaspian case study, we're going to be looking at a little bit different attributes. Brian, do you want to kind of tell just the elevator version on kind of how we got to this point, how the partnership kind of came to be, how you guys had been really trying to apply speech analytics and kind of just your story up to this point?
Sure, thanks. A couple of things. Vaspian is my business. We provide hosted phone service or phone services in the cloud if you want to be more modern about it. We've been doing it since 2004. And we've got small businesses across the country and even a couple of large ones. And for like the last 6+ years, my main business partner and I have been in love with speech analytics. And the joke is we've lost money with speech analytics every year of our existence until we finally met up with Etech. So you can't do a better advertisement for Etech than that, right? But and the trick is really simple. It's like, you've seen the data that she's trying to show you, and it's complicated, and there's a lot going on there. In a small, medium-sized business, there really isn't anyone there that's ready to make this their full-time thing, to take this data and run with it and improve on things. They've got people that'll work with it, but they need something to gap the marvelous stuff that the analytics do with them actually being able to take action and understand it. And Vaspian we're good at phones and stuff like that, but we are not data miners. We don't have any of this. And Etech came along and they filled in all of the gaps. And we've tried a lot of things, but over those 6 years, and they were the only thing that really did it. And I can't tell you enough about the team they've got over in India, and they're brilliant. It's like the funniest thing about them is their only knock is they give you so much data. I always tell them to clean up their slides and reduce the amount of data on each slide, because they're just a fountain of information. And the other thing is that you've got people like Chandra over here in the States as well, so that have been in these businesses and have a fairly clear idea of like how the different places work and can talk their speak for the work of these outbound or inbound call centers. And all of that adds up to price, a very, very what would you call a very, very effective technique. We've got a handful of customers working with them right now. And unfortunately, COVID intervened with one of them in this January. Too many people were sick and out of the office. But the progress they made with Etech over the time that they were working with them was dramatic and completely different. In collection agencies, we have a lot of those simply because there's all these like miniature call centers that need help, and we were able to do a lot of things for them. But compliance and the ability to ask for the closure on a call with a customer when they're looking for trying to get a settlement or get a payment from a customer, all of these things are critical, and they're all teachable skills. And the problem with collection agencies, of course, was before we came along, they were looking at with their audit processes, they were looking at 2-3% of their calls, total calls. With speech analytics, we were able to look at 100% of the calls, and in near real time, in terms of getting to the floor and saying, hey, Sally, you're doing this wrong, or hey, Bob, you should work on this, or Bill, this is a great job. And the difference here was that we still needed that person to do the analytical work and break it down into actionable items. And I'd turn it back over to you at that point, Chandra, because you'll do a better job of explaining that than I ever will.
All right, thanks, Brian. And guys, Brian will be here for questions after the webinar as well. Feel free to reach out to him also. So what we looked at really in this collections were, like Brian said, negotiation and compliance. Those are really your two big rocks, if you will, in those worlds, and that's really what you're going to want to focus on, honing your skills or making sure that you're doing 100% of the time when it comes to those compliance items. So when we talk about negotiation, the most important thing you can do on a collection call, obviously is negotiate, but you always want to go for that balance in full, right? You want to try to collect as much as you can in a one call close, okay? You want to get as much as what you can align in that one call, right? And so we're really able to see kind of the impact of reaching for that balance in full versus offer settlement and payment over time has, and then how many calls that we're really negotiating on. How many times are we truly negotiating, or are we kind of just giving the customer the easy way out, not really applying any sort of negotiation skills, not applying any sort of really thought to how we are structuring that call, or sliding to the offer settlement when we appropriately needed to, or possibly sliding to the offer settlement a little too soon, right? So we really looked into connects. Connects are huge, okay, in the collection world. If you can't talk to someone, obviously you're not going to be able to collect, right? So leaving voicemails, making sure that agents are going above and beyond to give that customer, if they don't reach them in their call, the ability to reconnect back, okay? So we were wanting to measure on those connect calls, okay, or the no connect calls, I'm sorry, on the connect calls, how many times were agents leaving a callback number? They were leaving a voicemail. They're setting the customer up for success, okay? And we needed to understand the impact and how an increase in those was really helping us in collections. When we looked at approaches, right? So remember, back in A Tale of Two Sinners, we looked at the pace setters, we looked at the herd. We understood what was the best approach based on what our top performers were doing and what we knew to be the positive attributes and the positive flow of that interaction. So here, we hone the approach for collections. We give the debtor a clear choice. We go into the convince process. Once we get the payment, we focus on education. This is your customer experience portion. This is where you can really actually, help someone. You get that firm decision done in a very friendly atmosphere. It becomes a mutually beneficial conversation. And then you assist that debtor if they go back into a repayment process. They go into failure to pay again. So understanding what optimal looks like. We knew what we had to fix. We had to fix some voicemail greetings, right? We had to understand consent, and we had to really exhibit those strategic collection behaviors, asking for that full amount first, learning how to negotiate, and truly negotiating in every opportunity. And you can see that the actions that we took to fix those. We made this very easy for Brian's team, right? We want them to be able to take action, again, not having to wade through data to understand where was the actionable insights. Can we go ahead and go to the next slide? Again, talking about usability of data, okay? Our call centers have used scorecards for years. We're very comfortable with scorecards. Now we are able to use scorecards on steroids, okay? Looking at thousands of interactions at once. What you're seeing here is an example of 18,678 interactions presented to you in an easy to understand scorecard format. You're not asking your people to change the way that they're looking at performance. Now it's just enhancing the way that they're looking at performance. We're still going to give your leaders data, okay, in a very consumable and familiar format, but that data is now powered by volume, velocity, and variety. Let me go ahead and go to the next slide. Again, making it easy, helping Brian's team be able to get the information to the agent level. Now, Brian is the CEO. He understands what's going on with the program. He understands what is critical to success. He understands the projected outcome of that. Now we're going to take that information all the way down to the agent level, the most important person on the team. We have to have our agents understanding what drives success. If they don't understand it, nothing else really matters. I mean, that's just a raw fact of call center life. If your agents don't understand what makes them successful, you're kind of just, you're stumped right there, right? So this is the agent part. Jim, would you flip back to that one, please? We want to understand what are the most critical behaviors, how to apply those behaviors in the correct scenario, what's a fallback if you can't apply the first one, and then what's the success rate of that? Why does it matter that I do that? All right, Jim, go ahead and go to the next slide then. Making it easy for the leaders, heat mapping, visual aids, quick action. When you're on the call center, I used to run 4 of our call centers at the same time, a senior director of operations. I understand the importance of agility in the call center. Having these quick visual aids so you can quickly prioritize your day. You can understand right away, man, I've really got to focus on at the team level collections. At the team level, focus on collections. And then I know also second to that, I've got to work on consent. I can deprioritize courtesy. My team's also already very nice. Let's work on these collection habits that matter. And then I can back that all the way down to the agent level so I know who to work on first. Looking at data sets, huge populations here. Looking at different scorecards. Again, I just showed you the Alliance scorecard, 18,000 interactions. We can see very clearly what the variance was month over month when it comes to those populations, the scorecard results, and then the right party contacts, which is a huge driver of collections results. In summary, categorize process improvements through strategic categorizations, helping tune their AI engine, making sure that the categories are relevant, they're capturing what we need, they're focused on analytically viable events. We need to automate the scorecards. You saw the example of that. We put in the observations around mandates and conversions. We put in recommended action items and made everything easy and actionable from Brian's level at the CEO office all the way down to the agents. Can you go ahead and go to the next slide? Again, looking at those compliance items, things that truly matter on those right party contact calls. Even though we saw a decline in those, we want to make sure that we're following all of our compliance mandates. Again, very easy for Brian and his team to jump on here, see quickly where do we need to action, where are our vulnerabilities. Obviously, it's in the explanation of debt. So quick hits, get in, retrain their team on those things that matter. Don't worry so much about call recording. Don't worry so much about balance in full. We've got a good grasp on those. We take action, away we go, and then we look for the improvement in the next readout. Conversion drivers, again, looking at those right party contact calls and applying a strategic behavior of creating urgency in that negotiation. When we apply, what the story we're seeing here is when we apply the creating urgency behavior, let's get this taken care of now, is what that sounds like, right? Let's get this settled for you. Let's get this put to bed, right? We saw an increase, 17% to 22% of month over month, and a normal conversion drop by 1% when compared to April. So we've got to see the increase, 4% increase in conversion when creating urgency, and an overall conversion decrease with negotiation. So really focusing on creating urgency as the number one attribute of that negotiation conversation is where you're going to get your money. It's prioritizing that behavior. How do we do this all? Omni-channel integration. We take any kind of interaction, basically written or spoken, from your dialer, your audio, email, chat, text, any sort of source, drop it in through data and analytics, process it, push it out into that simplified, usable scorecard through QEval, and then you're going to get your actionable insights coming out the other side. Everything from performance recommendations all the way down to those business insights and product intel that can help you make very quick strategic changes as you need to respond to customers' feedback. We look at things very, very strategically. We give you a 360-degree view of that agent performance through QEval. What you see here, again, those very visual, easy to use dashboards that can help you stay ahead of compliance issues, really help you fix and adjust in real time. Agent level data. This is something that we have that I want to tell you I'm really, really proud of, that really, it's a different approach to coaching agents, measuring the coaching effectiveness of the coaches. Right? We want to empower the agents to be able to rate the coaches back and the quality of that coaching and the impact that it has on their performance. This really helps our higher up leaders, our next level leaders, our middle leaders really get in there and help their coaches be the best that they can. And again, you've got that constantly replenishing 360 degrees of performance management. Understanding areas to improve, again, root cause analysis at a glance. Right? You don't have to work to understand the action that you have to take. Within 5 clicks, you're down to who I need to coach, what I need to coach them on, and how urgently I need to coach them.
Very good. Thank you, Shonda. That was an excellent, I love this conversation about the intersection of HI and AI. And we've been working together with Etech for over 5 years and have just had a great partnership. Jim, you can go to the next slide. So Tethr is a conversation analytics and actioning platform. And so from an analytics perspective, we provide all the insights that you've been hearing about today. It's a platform that can plug into your contact center voice or chat platforms, analyze those conversations, and so that you can improve things like customer experience, agent performance, sales, and you can reduce things like cost and customer churn. But beyond that, we've really moved into the space of actioning. And so that's really where Etech has taken it, where you can take these insights and do actions. And some of those actions can be automated actions. Some of the actions can be done in different manners, and humans can interact with it. And so if you look at our approach, kind of these 6 boxes here going from top left to bottom right, we as a company have brought together the pieces of AI and HI, so human intelligence, the best of what a person can do, and then artificial intelligence, the best of what a machine can do. And what I would say is we're using that label artificial intelligence a little bit loosely. A lot of it's machine learning, a lot of it's simply a machine being able to automate a process and not true AI in some of these instances. But for us, it started with humans that developed this powerful platform that could understand, human conversations and understand 2 people going back and forth. And what's unique about Tethr and the approach that we've taken is we didn't just simply create a technical platform that could do this. We informed that platform with the best research in the world. And so we partnered early on in our history with a company called CEB that's now part of Gartner, and got a lot of the research that found its way into the effortless experience and the challenger cell, and used that to develop models inside of Tethr so that on day one you could turn it on, immediately get insights, and that's what the machine does for you. And so you've got these pre-built models, but then partners like Etech are able to come in and basically using an insight wizard, create new specific insights for individual companies and individual industries, and really get at the very specific things that you may be looking for. And so that's the machine part of listening. And then you've got this defining action. So now we're in this world where you've got all this new capability where you can actually trigger automated actions based on things that are said in a conversation. So being able to trigger a task that gets done when somebody gives a churn signal, or trigger an opportunity to be created when a service calls, a customer mentions something that might be a sales opportunity. And then those actions can get executed by the machine. And then lastly, you need humans at the end to be able to look at those insights. And like Chandra was saying, sometimes you get false positives, sometimes words are misunderstood. And so having a person that can be able to look at those, continue to refine the insight models, and then be able to take action on those. Next slide, Jim. And so ultimately where we end is this end state where on the left, you have all of these conversation sources. So your call center voice and chat platform, those are ingested into the Tethr platform. And then they can find their outputs in various ways. So at the very top, on the top right, we have these prescriptive dashboards, Tethr RX. And so the idea is on day one to give you the maximum amount of value so that then somebody like Etech can jump in and start working with you on more detailed things, but you're getting value on day one through these prescriptive dashboards. And most of the time, the people that consume those in a business are kind of supervisor, manager, director level people. So a lot of times executives and agents aren't actually inside of the conversation analytics platform. And so what we're doing is now shipping those insights and just imagine an executive, they don't need to know everything every day. Let's just ship them a weekly summary, a dashboard basically of the things that are important to them. And for agents to be able to send them maybe a once a day daily digest that allows them to see how they're doing on a call, to provide some kind of interim coaching between their official coaching sessions with their supervisor. And then the last area at the bottom right are those automated actions. So now you can trigger actions based on those conversations. And so we partner with Qualtrics, you might ship a survey to a customer that says, hey, we know you called in and you're frustrated about this. Could you tell us more about that? Or if you use a CRM system like Salesforce, you could trigger a task or a case or some other kind of action to be taken. Or like working with Etech and their QA eval platform, you can ship those insights into that platform. So then you can have a coaching session that is way more meaningful because it's on all of the agents' calls and not just 4 or 5 calls from the last month. And so that really gives you a sense of what the platform and how that platform sits in the middle of the Etech wrapper around it. And you put the best of AI and the best of HI together and really get a lot of value out of listening to those customer conversations. So, Jim, back to you.
Thanks so much, Robert.
You bet.
That was great. So we're going to wrap up a little bit now. So just to wrap up today, hopefully you're a believer, right? So when you deal with a machine, think about it. What's greater, 1 or 100? It's a numbers game. It's a big data. I'll tell you a story. So I had friends at our house one time, and we all cooked chicken on the grill. The adults go in the house, kids are out in the pool. One of the kids comes in the house and says, "Yeah, the grill's on fire." Honey, don't worry about it. It's just leftover fat from the chicken. She goes back out and plays. Another child comes in 5 minutes later. "Dad, I think your grill's on fire. There's telling you it's looked like, honey, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal." Then finally, all 4 kids come in and says, "Hey, by the way, your grill's on fire. Your knobs are melting. I think it's on fire. Went outside. Of course, my entire grill was on fire." It's about the data. The 1, 2, 3, 100 is definitely bigger. When something goes wrong, how did it happen? And the last about is that vision check. To wrap it all up, let's bridge the gap, right? Bridging the gap. This is what we're talking about, contact center performance. Where are we? Are you monitoring performance? Matt Rockwell and myself published a couple books. They're on our website. Feel free to drop in there and get a copy of it. Quality is not a score. It's a behavior. There's a big difference there, right? That's what you have to look at, which brings you into performance management. Performance management is the holy grail of getting people better. Direct feedback, targeted coaching, identifying opportunities. And like Robert, Chandra, and Brian all said, when you're having a conversation with an agent, it wasn't on one call, Robert, it was on 100. So you're only 32% effective in this behavior, and it wasn't on a call. That's why targeted coaching is so important. Encourage self-learning, gamification, example-based learnings, analytics, coaching insights, automating coaching, documenting coaching, and then you're able to measure the effectiveness. That's how you bring that tech stack together, which is what our QEval platform does. Why is coaching so crucial in 21, 22? Well, we already know McKinsey agrees with. There's nothing more important than coaching. We've also talked to a lot of people in the industry. A lot of people say, what are the top 3 challenges for this AI machine learning adoption? If you went and surveyed probably most CIOs across the globe, they'll say there's just so much stuff to do. You need a partner to help you. You need someone that's got implementations. You need someone who's done it a million times, right? Etech runs about 3.5 million interactions a month through our switch through a variety of speech to text platforms. And that's what you need. You need people who can help you, people who understand the contact center industry, right? That's really what's going to bring value to it. There's a little thing that we talk about. Don't coach the call, coach the skill, because coaching a call is not going to bring you to the Holy Land. Coaching the skill will. First thing, set objectives for the entire organization. Where do you see yourself in a week, a month, a year from now? Then analyze the data and establish those baseline measurements that are going to help you. Prioritize your initiatives based on ROI. And I say this based on ROI because speech costs money, so we're all clear. And what we found is if you're in a sales deployment, those little bits that Chandra shared with you, you could get your ROI very fast. Because a lot of people on this call might be thinking, yeah, but I only do customer service. And we get it. You could drive customer experience. The question is, are you willing to pay for it? That's the thing that you have to talk about. And when you have a sales deployment, it's just easier and quicker to see the ROI, as Chandra showed you, but don't discount the customer service because in our opinion, there's nothing more important than delivering a remarkable experience. Develop a plan of action to put your findings across the entire organization, not just the agents, because we talked a lot about our call center agents, right? There's traders out there. Chandra's The Tale of Two Cities, we embedded in our training development plans and showed them how to use this data before they went to train versus taking the old stuff that's off the shelf. Ensure collaboration. That's another opportunity we've saw with hundreds of customers. You have to calibrate. Like a human being can be wrong, so could a machine. Make sure you're calibrating, make sure you're getting that feedback and fine-tuning and continuing fine-tuning. And last but not least, empower the teams. Make them aware of the advantages and the true capabilities of speech analytics software beyond a dashboard. And coaching tip, if your conversations today start with, I listened to a call, it's time to change your approach. Go from insights to actions. You need functional expertise, okay? Functional expertise is what turns all that great data from these platforms like Tethr into actionable. These challenges are not reporting. People use the BI, yeah, so does Etech. BI is, this, what we're talking about, it's not reporting, right? You have activity and you're able to correlate data produced by disparate operational sources. That's the core data of how you can take transactional information, right? You could definitely data flow a lot of this data out to show people fancy graphs, but does it tell a story? Is it consumable? Is it usable at every level of the interaction? And my last favorite, if you're not a Godfather fan, Don Vito was a big data guy, even back in the day. He needed all the facts before his decisions could be made, because his decisions were based on life and death. You can't whack someone based on bad data. You would start a war, and nobody in those families want to start a war. Wars cost money. So hopefully you guys had a great time today. Prevent those blind spots in the silo reporting. Use the data models. We are available to help you guys here. If there's anything you guys have, any questions, we're all happy here to answer those questions, and I'll open up the chats.